Welcome back to our podcast, Grind, Sleep, Repeat podcast. And today we are going to be talking about how to properly fuel your body for hybrid training. So not just an overall diet or weight loss. We're talking about how to fuel your body properly.
Before we hop into today's podcast, we do want to let you guys know that we are doing a $50 FitGrind apparel or supplement gift card giveaway. So in order to enter, while you're listening to this podcast, pause the video. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, go down to the comments and the description and link below. You can click on that form. You can enter for a chance to win a free $50 FitGrind gift card that you can use towards our supplement or apparel line. Or if you're listening on a different platform, head over to fitgrindflama.com. Fill out the form. You can enter for your chance to win a free $50 FitGrind gift card.
Today, we are going to be talking about how to properly fuel your body for hybrid training.
I think a lot of people look at food and they label it as like good and bad, black and white, like carbs are bad, protein is good, and like
fat makes you fat.
Fat makes you fat, exactly. But when you train in this hybrid style, there becomes the importance of fueling, like you mentioned, because if you don't properly fuel your body, if you don't properly hydrate, your performance is going to suffer, and therefore your progress is also going to suffer. So we just kind of want to go through some of the things that we've made mistakes on in the past, because throughout the course of training hybrid, we have made lots of mistakes, under fueling, under hydrating. So we're going to go over some of the things that we've made mistakes on, some of the big takeaways, and specifically dive into nutrition aspect of hybrid training, because there has to be a lot of focus. It can't just be like calories in, calories out, or really restricting calories or really restricting carbs, because you will not perform the way that you want to.
Yeah, I think too, like when you think of like, oh, I'm going on this diet, you go into this calorie restriction and you automatically feel that lack of energy, and your like workouts, everything feels heavier, everything feels harder. So when we are in a hybrid training style, it's probably not suggested to be in that deficit, because when you're in that deficit, you need to utilize your calories to perform better.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be, but when doing that in your deficit, if you're in a deficit, you want to make sure that you prioritize your nutrition around your workouts.
Yeah.
So that would be the biggest goal, is if you are in a deficit, to make sure that you're carb loading around your running and your workouts, and then backloading with protein.
Yeah. And by deficit, Alyssa's meaning like a caloric deficit, meaning that you're eating fewer calories than you burn.
Yeah.
And you can still train hybrid and say you have a weight loss goal and you're in a caloric deficit. Just don't expect your performance to be amazing.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Don't expect every strength training session to feel super strong, or every run to be like, wow, that was a great run.
Mm-hmm.
Your energy is going to be lower because you're not giving your body enough calories to maintain weight. You're in a deficit.
Yeah.
And what this immediately takes me back to is when we were training for our wedding in 2023. It was my personal goal to get to 8% body fat on our wedding. That's just a goal that I set. We were also training for a half marathon during that. And the first half of the training, I was in that extreme deficit where, I was doing a lot of cardio every week. I was still strength training 5 or 6 days a week, and then running a lot. And I just felt terrible. I was underfueled. I was underhydrated. I was doing too much on too little fuel. And as soon as I increased my calories, and as soon as I started prioritizing my carbohydrate intake, my electrolyte consumption, it was amazing, because I immediately felt the difference in my performance. That's what we want to dive into today, is like training for hybrid training and how to improve your performance through your nutrition. Because I think it's something that a lot of people, they think about the workouts first. Okay, this is the program. This is the perfect program to reach my goals. And the nutrition kind of becomes an afterthought. Or we're so programmed to think that we always have to be trying to lose body fats, or not eat carbohydrates because they're going to make us fat. Like there's a lot of dietary habits and dietary thought processes that you can't necessarily have when you're training like a hybrid athlete.
Yeah, and what I was trying to say by that is like, this specific episode is not going to be geared towards like somebody who's in a calorie deficit. It's more for how to structure your nutrition based off of performance. But also, when you're in that performance mindset, you need to make sure you're focused on hydrating, fueling your body properly, which does not mean to go eat a big giant thing of pizza, go eat a bunch of calories. That's not the idea we're trying to get across here. When we're talking about fueling and performance, we're talking about good quality fuel. So let's kind of like dive into what exactly that entails.
Yeah. So we're always big proponents of practicing balance, but at least 80 to 90% of your food should be whole food sources. So lean proteins, quality carbohydrate sources, vegetables, fruit, and then also we'll talk about electrolyte supplementation as well later. So even if you're trying to eat to fuel your performance like we're talking about, and you're eating a lot of food and a lot of calories per se, 80 to 90% of those calories should come from whole quality food sources. Mm-hmm. This is not your excuse just to eat donuts and pizza and cookies and ice cream every day, because that's not going to fuel your body properly.
It's not going to make you feel good.
Yeah, the difference between, yes, we'll talk about carbohydrates first. Usually, we recommend if you're training hybrid and you're running a lot and you're lifting and you're blending those two together and you're burning a lot of calories, you probably want at least 40 to 50% of your calories coming from carbohydrates. That's a lot. Typically our typical weight loss clients, we're not going to start them there. That's way higher than we start them. But those carbs are they're the rocket fuel for your performance. And if you're under eating on your carbohydrates, you're going to notice a decrease in performance, or as soon as you increase those carbohydrates, you're going to notice a huge increase in performance. Now, with that 40 to 50% of your calories coming from carbs, this is exactly what we're talking about, where, yeah, you could eat ice cream. I mean, that's going to have some fat component too, but yes, there's carbohydrates in ice cream, but the quality of food that you're going to get from, say, like rice or sweet potatoes, whole grain breads, oatmeal, fruit, those carbohydrate sources are going to be a lot easier to digest. They're going to be easier for your body to use, and they're more than likely going to be used for the workout themselves and not stored as body fat in the process. So that's the difference between just eating a bunch of junk and a bunch of shit versus actually eating good quality food, just eating more of it.
Yeah, and our bodies are going to feel that difference too. So the energy that you receive from having a good quality meal is going to be way more effective and way more efficient than if you're eating, like you said, that bowl of ice cream, opposed to some rice and beef and avocados, things like that, whole foods that are going to give you that sustainable energy, fill you up, keep your blood sugars level. Eating things like ice cream, cookies, whatever it is that you enjoy are okay in moderation. But when we are trying to focus on performance, focus on good quality fueling sources, we really need to limit that as much as possible.
Yeah. And that's the whole idea behind 80-20 is like, if you're doing 80% of the things right with your nutrition, you're going to see awesome progress. We always, especially like during a half marathon training, we're really in the thick of hybrid training. We're running upwards of 20, 25, 30 plus miles a week, while also strength training 4, 5, 6 days a week sometimes. So a lot of exercise, a lot of volume. Calories are pretty high. What we always like to do is practice our, we could do a whole podcast on this too, practice our pre-race fueling strategy. So, the day before, the couple days before our long runs, we'll carb up and we'll try to increase muscle glycogen. And basically, for those of you that don't know what that is as you eat carbohydrates, your body breaks down that glucose. And especially if you're somebody that has muscle mass or you're consistently using the carbohydrates that are stored in your muscle, your body can take those carbs, convert it into glycogen, and store it as a form of really easy energy.
Access.
Yeah, easy access for an energy source during your workout. So that's ideally that's kind of like the thought process behind spaghetti dinners before a race. Now, you kind of want to preload a couple days before, and again, like I said, we could go on a whole podcast on that.
And pair that with a protein.
I won't go on a whole tangent about that, but we'll practice that. So say that we want to treat ourselves to something like what we always did. We would make these Rice Krispies, and we'd try different cereals and all kinds of stuff, really high in carbohydrates, pretty low in fat. We would always incorporate that on like the couple days before or on our really long run day, and just use that as a treat, because nobody can go eating 100% clean all the time forever.
Restrictive.
Yes, restrictive. You can, but you're going to start to get to points where you don't necessarily have to. You're going to start to resent it. You can still see all the results that you want to see while eating 80% or 90% whole food and the other 10 to 20% enjoying the foods that you like to eat still.
Right. And that's just carbs. Now, when we're talking about the rest of our macronutrients, so protein, we want to make sure that we're getting enough protein in, because this goes also with weight training. So we're talking about hybrid training in general, so running and lifting. We're breaking down those muscles. We need to help repair those muscle tissues by drinking, eating enough protein. And what that looks like, and we've talked about this multiple times before, but that's 1 gram per body weight. So if you weigh 120 pounds, you want to make sure you're eating 120 grams of protein. And we don't want to bundle that all up in one sitting. We want to make sure we spread that out evenly throughout the day, because that's going to level out our blood sugars with each meal. That's going to keep us full and satisfied throughout the day. So by trying to pre-plan that, saying, okay, if I know I need 120, how many meals a day am I eating? How much protein do I need per meal? Then that helps you be more consistent with that, versus like getting towards the end of the day and being like, oh my gosh, I have 100 grams of protein still to eat. And then
4 scoops of protein.
yeah. Versus being pre-prepared, knowing, how much protein you need at each meal is going to set you up for more success.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason why that protein is so important is because training in this hybrid style, you're constantly breaking your body down. Mm-hmm. Those amino acids found in protein are what's going to help our muscles repair. It's also going to help us prevent muscle wasting or muscle loss. So if you're inadequate in protein, you could run the risk of losing muscle throughout this process. I mean, we're running a lot, we're burning a lot of calories, we're lifting a lot, we're constantly breaking down. And if you're not repairing your muscle tissue, you run the risk of under-fueling, under-recovering, and then potentially losing muscle mass. So it's so important in that aspect. Choosing things like lean proteins, chicken, even things like lean pork, lean beef, eggs,
protein
fish,
powders.
Yeah, protein bars, protein powders. That's really why we came out with our own protein, is to use as an extension of your diet. It's not this magic pill, but it's a really good way that you can fill in the cracks. And typically how we'll use our protein powder is I'll do it with breakfast sometimes, or sometimes I'll do a bar. I'll always do a midday shake in between meals. And then a lot of times before bed, I'll do another protein shake. So I'm doing 2 to 3 servings of it, which is going to give me 50 to 75 grams of additional protein that I don't have to eat through whole food sources, because it can get tough to eat your body weight in protein every single day if you're not using things like protein powders as an extension of your diet.
Yeah, it's not something you want to use at every meal. It's not necessarily a meal replacement unless you pair it with other things. Like if you blend it into a smoothie, that can be used as a meal replacement. But the idea of the protein powder is to help quickly get to the body, get to the muscles, and help repair those muscles. So using a protein powder right after you get done working out, that's when it's going to be the best time to utilize that.
For sure. So we've talked about carbs, protein. Carbs, like we said, anywhere from 40 to 50%. Your protein is going to be 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, which is going to be like 20 to 30%, mm-hmm. Maybe a little higher, maybe it probably won't be a little lower. And that leaves you with your fat. So whatever is left out of that percentage, so say, for example, this is a total example here. Say you're doing 50% carbohydrates, you're doing 30% protein, that's going to give you 80%. So the other 20% of your calories is going to come from fat. Still trying to eat whole food sources, avocados, nuts, nut butters. You can even use some like a Kerrygold Irish butter.
Animal fats,
yes. Fats from egg, like whole egg yolks. There's lots of good, healthy fat sources that we can still eat. We're not saying just go and down some donuts and that's going to count as some of your fat throughout the day. Pick high-quality fat sources, because that's also going to give you an abundance of calories, just with fat having more calories.
Yeah, fat also is a energy source and can be utilized as energy, but it's good for balancing out your hormones.
Yes,
so
you have to have fat. Yep.
Yes, it's essential for your body. So, and fats take longer to digest, so they are going to keep you full and satiated longer. Whereas like the carbs and the protein can be digested a little bit quicker. Fats take a little bit longer. So pairing that at each meal is going to help you balance out blood sugar, but also keep you full and satiated for longer periods of time.
Yeah. So next thing I want to talk about, which is something that was really, really life-changing to our program and to our nutrition and supplement regimen, and is why we came out with our own electrolyte product. But I want to talk about electrolyte supplementation because I do feel that it is a part of your nutrition, and it is a huge gap for so many people, especially hybrid athletes that are looking to optimize their performance. I want to sign up for this race and I want a PR, but I also want to build muscle and build strength. And we, for the longest time, were not taking an electrolyte supplement, and this is before we came out with our own. And we just felt like crap. We felt run down. You get this like flu-like symptom constantly. You got headaches. You're pounding water, but you're like, why do I feel like crap? Why do I feel dehydrated? And it is because you're not properly hydrating with electrolytes. Those electrolytes, not even if we're sweating, but every time that we have a muscle contraction, every time that we work out, we lose electrolytes through that. And then you add sweat on top of that from heavy and hard strength training sessions, hot, sweaty runs, and you're pushing out so many electrolytes that your body becomes imbalanced. And that's exactly where an electrolyte supplement comes into play, by having the correct balance of not only sodium, but also potassium and magnesium. We're not just saying salt. Yes, it's okay to add salt to your food, especially if you're training the style, but you need to take it one step further and use an electrolyte supplement like our FitGrind Pink Starburst electrolyte. We started using one and we instantly saw the difference, especially when we were like training for a race. We were doing it before the run. So a lot of times we're training mid-summer. We're doing it during the run. We're doing it after the run. Yeah, we do it
hot.
in our strength training sessions. It makes a huge difference. And it's something that if you're not currently taking an electrolyte supplement, I highly encourage you, give an electrolyte supplement a shot. If you're looking for a great one, we have our own. It's Pink Starburst flavor. There's 50 servings in a container. We'll leave the link in the comments description, or you can head over to fitgrindpharma.com, as long as a discount code as well that you can use on your first order, because we firmly believe that it is going to make such a big difference in your overall training and your performance.
Yeah, with 500 milligrams of sodium, it's nice because this is a perfect amount that if you're not a big sweater, you're not getting that full 1,000 like some other brands I know have 1,000 milligrams, but if you need 1,000 milligrams, you can always double scoop it, or during the summertime when you're going to be more sweaty and when you're doing longer runs or more intense workouts, then upping that sodium intake is going to be crucial as well. And you can typically get a good feel for this too, like throughout the day, knowing where your hydration levels are. I know a lot of people think like, I just need to keep pounding water. I just need to keep pounding water. Well, water doesn't do the trick like the electrolytes do. Water, you're just going to pee that out, and you're just going to keep peeing clear fluids out. And by balancing it with this electrolyte product, you're going to see better benefits and feel better overall.
Yeah. And, our Pink Starburst electrolyte tastes amazing, has no artificial sweeteners, 0 added sugar. Yes, we're a little bit biased, but I promise you, give it a shot. You're going to love it. You're also going to love the performance effects and how you just feel so much better. Because like I said, if you've done a workout or a run and you get that like run down, you feel sick, almost flu-like symptoms, you are deficient in electrolytes and you need to use an electrolyte supplement. So I highly, highly recommend that you give that a shot. You're going to notice a difference in your overall program and just how you feel. Like I said, even if you're not a really heavy sweater, it is going to help make sure that you're properly hydrated, because when we're drinking water, we're actually diluting your blood electrolyte levels, whereas when you're drinking water with electrolytes, you're actually properly hydrating your body. And a lot of times people are scared of salt and sodium, that they don't want to drink too much sodium or eat too much sodium because they're going to retain water. If you're training hard, I can pretty much guarantee you that you're not going to be eating too much sodium in your diet to where having 1, 2, maybe 3 scoops of electrolytes a day, if you're really sweating, it's going to properly hydrate you, and you're not going to be holding on to too much water because of that excess sodium.
But even if you're not training hard and you're just an average person, it can be beneficial for anyone to be supplementing with an electrolyte. Our kids take this as well. They're athletes, they're in sports, so they benefit from this as well. But if you're just somebody who, wants to feel good, wants to feel better, stay hydrated, this is something that you could totally benefit from, because if you're eating a well-balanced diet, chances are you aren't getting enough sodium. So when people are afraid of sodium, I'm like, well, hold up. How much salt was in that chicken noodle soup that you just ate, you know? So be realistic and say, okay, if I'm eating healthy, eating whole foods, you have to add salt to those foods in order to get enough sodium, and our bodies do need sodium. Yeah. So if you're eating if you're eating a good diet, supplementing with a electrolyte is going to be nothing but beneficial.
So the last thing we kind of wanted to touch on, and this is something that we discussed, we both have experience with, is how hybrid training has helped us change our thought process around food, around dieting, around body composition and body dysmorphia. And, you can start us off here, talk about your experience with, in the past, how you look at food versus how you look at food now, training like a hybrid athlete.
Yeah. And so just to be clear, body dysmorphia is something that Jordan and I both have struggled with, but I think it's something that is kind of always going to be with you, and you're going to go through waves. You're going to go through phases where, things seem harder and things are better. But, getting into this training style, training hybrid, has helped me focus more on performance. Kind of like takes me back to when I was a kid and when I was an athlete, and I was mainly just focused on eating so that I wasn't exhausted going into a softball training session. Eating just because I knew that I needed the energy throughout the day at school to keep me focused.
Yeah.
Because when you're hungry at school, how the heck can you focus, right? So I think it helped me kind of go backwards and remember that, food is fuel. Food is not supposed to be something that we fear. The more we focus on fearing food, the more stress we put on our bodies too. So just getting into this has helped me focus on, like I've said a million times, performance. So I'm eating this sweet potato because I know it's going to help me perform better in the gym. I know it's going to make me feel good. I know it's going to give me long lasting energy throughout the rest of the day. And that's the main goal. It's not, I'm eating this sweet potato because I want to lose weight and I want to be skinny and I want to fit in my clothes. And when you
Yes.
when you flip the mindset and say, I'm eating this because I enjoy it, I'm eating this because I know what it's going to do for my body, then that just overall changes your thought process, and it's healthier to think like that opposed to thinking that other way. Like people think when I'm on a diet, I got to eat salad, I got to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice. Mm-hmm. And that is like the staple diet. And that is not what it has to be. If you don't like broccoli, you don't have to eat broccoli. There's like a zillion other vegetables that you can eat that are going to give you great health benefits. There's green supplements that you can take to help you with your veggie consumption if you're not a big veggie person. But eating foods that you don't like it's just feeling forced. It's feeling like, you're doing something because you want to look a certain way, opposed to flipping that mindset.
Yeah, I've struggled with body dysmorphia for as long as I can remember. And even like last year, trying to get to 8% body fat, it wasn't
probably a trigger.
Yeah, it was a goal. And like when you set those extreme goals, because that's not typically where my body likes to sit. My body, if I just don't track my food, still working out hard, usually I'll sit between that like 10 to 12% body fat. And actually I was coming off of a bulk at that point where I was a lot higher than 12% body fat. So it was an extreme goal. It was something that I really pushed and worked for. And when I go to those phases where I'm looking at body fat as my sole goal or body composition, those body dysmorphic tendencies really come out. And I really do not have a good relationship with food when that happens. It's, I eat this because of this food is bad, I can't eat this. And you start telling yourself that. Labeling. And, training hybrid, you realize that you have to also still be human. You have to have this has to be a lifestyle. This has to be something that you can sustain. And yes, we're still eating. Almost all of our food is very healthy, high quality food, whole food sources. But if you want to fit in something that you enjoy, like we still go out to dinner once a week. We are foodies. We love sweets. We still will have something sweet almost every week, as a treat. And when you allow yourself to do that, it really opens up your mind and opens up your perspective of saying that it's okay to have this food, this one cookie is not going to make or break my fitness or make or break my body composition. We work hard in the gym. We work hard with our nutrition, and you are allowed that 10 to 20% of the time. And when you think about the food that you're eating as fuel, like Alyssa mentioned, like I'm going to eat this sweet potato or this rice with my protein source because it's going to fuel my body. Not because I'm scared of it making me fat. So you can still have body composition goals, training hybrid. Just focus on the performance with your strength training sessions. Focus on the performance with your conditioning, whether that's running or rowing, biking, swimming, whatever that cardio may be that you're training hybrid, mixing it with strength training. Focus on your performance, get better, get stronger, fuel your workouts, and you're going to start to see your mindset shift for the positive. And those body dysmorphic tendencies might come up every now and then, but it's going to help by changing that focus on solely identifying your progress and your success based on how you look, based on your weight on scale, based on how you feel about yourself when you look in a mirror. And those things may still be important. Yes, we want to be healthy and we want to look good and feel good and confident, but also focus on performing and having good workouts and seeing progress in and out of the gym.
Yeah, I hope this podcast helped you guys find balance in your training and in your fueling strategies. And I hope that you can utilize some of this information and can relate with some of the stuff that we've personally gone through. And if you guys enjoy content just like this, make sure you come back and follow us. We post weekly podcasts, and we'll see you guys in the next one.